Chapter 1. Madam, you don't want your son expelled from the academy, do you? Madam, you don't want your son to be expelled from the academy, do you? In the plaza of Wendao Academy, a tall, strikingly handsome young man with a feathered fan and scholar's cap spoke with a bright smile. The young man's name was Kufeng. Standing before him was a dignified and graceful woman dressed in palace attire. Her long black hair shone with luster, and her captivating eyes held a hint of sorrow. Her mature and alluring face was full of hidden worries, making her look pitifully fragile. Any man who saw her would be moved by a strong urge to protect her. However, Kufeng harbored no ill intentions at this moment. He simply wanted to take her son as his disciple. Kufeng was the head of the miscellaneous arts branch at Wendao Academy. That very morning, he had received an order from the dean. If he couldn't recruit a disciple within a month, the miscellaneous arts branch would be disbanded, and he, as its head, would also be expelled from Wendao Academy. Upon receiving the news, Kufeng began his search for a suitable candidate. Though he was a transmigrator, Kufeng had already been in this world for 2.5 years. He hadn't learned a single cultivation technique, because he was unable to cultivate. If it weren't for the fact that he had been an exceptional time management expert in his past life, skilled in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Relying on his vast knowledge, he managed to gain admission to Wendao Academy, and became the only student in the miscellaneous arts branch. Otherwise, he would have starved to death long ago, and gone down as the most pitiful transmigrator in history. But 6 months ago, the former head of the branch passed away. The academy didn't send a new replacement, and with the strong recommendation from the late dean, Kufeng ended up becoming the new head of the miscellaneous arts branch. Though the title sounded impressive, in reality, he was a commander without troops. Otherwise, he wouldn't be out in the plaza looking for disciples. Upon hearing that the sword arts branch prodigy, Zhao Chen, had suffered severe injuries and become a cripple after entering Misty Marsh to retrieve rare treasures for his, and that the sword arts branch had already ordered Xiao Chun's expulsion, Kufeng immediately sought out Xiao Chun's mother in hopes of recruiting him first. The surname was Zhao, and he was a fallen genius. This clearly fit the template of a protagonist. Kufeng had already decided to take the young man under his wing. Pub Future adds once Zhao Chen soared to greatness. Wouldn't he, the lucky master, also benefit from the glow? Madame Zhao eyed the young man before her warily, her face full of caution. Sir, do you truly have a way for my son to remain at Wendao Academy? Wendao Academy was one of the 4 great neutral powers on the continent, a sacred place of learning for countless young cultivators. Those who studied there were either renowned prodigies or scions of powerful clans. Her son had already become a cripple. Even the head of the sword arts branch couldn't keep Xiao Chen. Now this young man claimed he could. She couldn't help but question the truth in his words. But of course, I'm one of the 10 heads of Wendao Academy. After all, I've already received the dean's permission to recruit any disciple of Wendao Academy at will. Xiao Chen is still a student here, isn't he? Kufeng's face radiated confidence. You're one of the 10 heads of Wendao Academy? Madame Zhao's voice was full of disbelief, her eyes wide with surprise. The heads of Wendao Academy were among the most elite figures on the continent, but she had never heard of one so young. Kufeng nodded. That's right. I'm the head of the miscellaneous arts branch. I was just appointed 6 months ago. Miscellaneous arts branch. When Madame Zhao heard those 3 words, the hope that had just begun to bloom instantly withered. Among the 10 branches of Wendao Academy, the miscellaneous arts branch ranked at the bottom. The reason was simple. It did not teach cultivation techniques, nor did it impart essential skills like talismans, alchemy, forging, or formations. It only taught things like music, chess, calligraphy, painting, and tea ceremonies. In the eyes of the world, it was a place of little value. How could Kufeng not see what was on Madame Zhao's mind? He knew that if he didn't talk her into it today, it would be nearly impossible to recruit a disciple. Madame, staying at Wendao Academy still means there's a chance, doesn't it? If your son leaves the academy, he'll never get another opportunity to cultivate in this lifetime, and if he stays, I can at least guarantee his safety. Once he's outside the academy, whether he survives or not is a whole other question. Madame Zhao frowned slightly upon hearing this. She knew the man was right. If her son lost the protection of Wendao Academy, even returning home wouldn't ensure his survival for long. Might as well take a gamble. She gave a slight bow to Kufeng. Thank you, sir, for being willing to take my son as your disciple. I'll go bring Zhao Chen right away so he can formally acknowledge you as his master. Alright. To avoid any unforeseen complications, Kufeng immediately said, better if I go with you to find Xiao Chen. Madam, it'll save us some trouble. Thank you, sir. A flicker of hope flashed in Madame Zhao's eyes. Please, follow me. Just as Kufeng followed Madame Zhao's footsteps, a mechanical voice suddenly echoed in his mind. Ding! Host has been in this world for 2.5 years, and has now begun accepting disciples. System officially activated. Holy shit. Kufeng shouted in his heart. It's here. It's finally here. My system may be late, but it's arrived. As a transmigrator, Kufeng had tried countless methods over the past 2 years to activate a system. but despite all his efforts, the system had never responded. Who would have thought that the key to activation was simply accepting a disciple? In this world, one reveres heaven, earth, ruler, parent, and teacher. Children rarely disobey their parents' orders. Now that Madame Zhao had agreed to let her son take Shoufeng as his master, Zhao Chen was practically his disciple, already no room for debate. System, what functions do you have? Shoufeng suppressed the excitement in his heart and asked silently. This is the disciple accepting system. For each disciple the host accepts, rewards will be granted accordingly. Specific features are to be explored by the host. As the voice faded, a glowing status panel unfurled before Ku Fen's mind's eye. Name, Kachufeng Cultivation. None techniques, none lifespan. 2270 nights. Talents. Music. Chess. Calligraphy. Painting. Tea ceremony. All at Grandmaster level. Perfection. Evaluation. 2-week system, refuses to comment. I can't believe even a measly system like you is looking down on me. Ku Shufeng couldn't help but mutter inwardly. Still, now that he had a system, the path to glory was wide open. Rise to the peak, marry a rich and beautiful woman, just thinking about it made his heart race. The corners of his lips couldn't help but curl upward into a subtle grin. At that moment, Madame Zhao suddenly paused and turned to glance at him. Seeing the smile on Chu Feng's face, she couldn't help but ask, Sir, what's making you smile like that? Chu Feng gave a soft smile. Just thought of something that made me happy. Madame Zhao didn't press further and said, Sir, my son's residence is just ahead. I'll go call him now so he can greet you. Cho Feng looked up and saw that they had arrived at the outer disciples' quarters of the Sword Arts branch. He nodded and said, All right, I'll wait here, madame.